Hey guys, how's it going? I know it's been a little while since I've made any videos for this channel, and I do intend on posting a few of them to make up for the ones that I didn't do in the last few months. But yeah, every time I wanted to try and do a video, something came up that stopped me from doing it. One, family problems came up and didn't leave me with much time. The other one was the weather in Australia being summer. It's hot as fuck here. And every time I have to do a video, I've got to close all my doors and windows to block out external noise. And that becomes a very big problem when my room's kind of like a sauna, especially, in the heat of summer. Then also I got sick with a pretty bad flu, and then when I got over that, it left me with a digestive disorder, which I needed to spend a few weeks getting fixed. And yeah, just unpleasant shit. So anyway, basically, now that I have the time to do some videos, I figured, why not? No point in making excuses, right? And so what I wanted to talk about in this video was being the bigger person and how that relates to self-defense. Because as most people that are self-defense practitioners would already know, that the majority of self-defense is the state of mind. And hold that in mind, because I will come back to it. And what I want to talk about when it comes to being the bigger person is, what I mean by that is not necessarily like if some guy thinks that you're looking at his girl or whatever, then he comes over and shoves you, basically you trying to de-escalate the situation. That should already be a given in the world of self-defense, okay? We by now should already know that the first response to that is not to break the guy's jaw. And here's the thing. When it comes to violence versus helping someone, something that I like to do when it comes to being the bigger person is going out of my way when I don't have to in order to do something nice for someone, even though like I may not get anything out of it. Not that I'm intentionally doing it to try and get something out of it. And the reason why I do encourage people to do this is because the more times you do this and you get positive results seeing that you've done nice things for someone, when you're faced with a aggressor, your natural instinct tends to be more of one that tries to focus more on their well-being as well as your well-being, and only resort to violence as a last resort if you absolutely have to. And there are some guys that really struggle with this, and you know which ones they are, because during it's called scenario replication training or whatever in self-defense schools. Like, if I'm being the attacker and I'm being verbally aggressive to the other guy, if his first instinct is to say, "Oh, fuck you, guy, man, come on, bring it on," yeah, then I know that they're not really doing much to try and de-escalate that situation and what their first response would be in real life. And so, with me, if some guy, even if it's some, skinny-ass motherfucker that looks like a twig that has absolutely no weapons on him that I could probably break in half with my pinky, I still don't want to go down that route for a number of reasons, but one of which could be that he has friends and they may retaliate later. I don't want to wind up in the court. So basically, if I can peacefully resolve the situation, that's what I want to do. And when it comes to going out of way to do nice things for other people, it tends to, if you make this a force of habit, your natural instinct then, when faced in a violent confrontation, will tend to make you try and look for a peaceful resolution and push the violent, option further away. And so what I wanted to do is just give 5 examples as from years ago when I decided to be the bigger person when I didn't have to, and on top of that when I really didn't want to. I generally don't like talking about the really amazing things I did, not that I consider these to be super amazing, but alas, it's relevant to this topic, and hopefully it may give other people some ideas as to what I'm talking about. So, in no particular order, here's one of them. So, at this point, I'm living with a couple of other housemates in this house. There's a guy, and I'm not going to mention any names here, but anyway, it's a guy and his girlfriend living in one room, and then there's another guy and his fiancée at this point. Ex-wife now, but beside the point. Anyway, so yeah, him and his fiancée, and these two guys, so the guy and his fiancée, are struggling pretty badly financially. Going between jobs and stuff like that, or one guy I think had a job but he wasn't getting much shifts. Same story with me. I recently lost my job at this point, and I'm really struggling to get by. All money went on bills and stuff like that, and I didn't have any money left for luxury things. I had to buy, cheap, not really good tasting food. And so what happened was, I come back home for dinner. What I did is I bought 4 slices of bacon, which I cooked up with a couple of tomatoes, and that was going to be my dinner. And it cost me about like $4 something, maybe $5 for all of that. And that was the very last bit of my money, and I'm starving at this point because I hadn't eaten all day. So, yeah, man, hunger is a bitch. And so I'm in the kitchen cooking this stuff, and I hear said guy and his fiance out in this. What do you call it? It's like I forgot what they call, like a patio or something like that. It's like a veranda, but it's like covered and sealed in. Usually people make that the laundry or something. But anyway, there's a window there which is open in the kitchen, so I can hear everything they're saying pretty clearly. And I overhear them talking about how, yeah, they also haven't eaten all day and they're super hungry, and all they had to eat was rice with a bit of sauce on it, and that was it. And they said that, even that's not going to really be enough to fill them up. And me being the kind of person I am that likes to help other people out, despite the fact I was hungry, I ended up giving my dinner to them. And I took the bacon out, I cut it up, and I said, delivered it out in separate bowls for them with the tomato as well. I said, hey guys, I wasn't purposely eavesdropping, but I could overhear you saying that, you guys are really hungry, so, you know what, here, take my meal, it's cool. And they were like, oh no, we don't want to screw you out of your meal. And I said, oh no, it's cool. I mean, before I came here, I went and got a big meal from KFC, and so it kind of filled me up. I don't even know why I cooked this bacon for myself. I guess I just did out of habit or whatever. I was lying, for the record. I was really starving. I hadn't eaten all day, as I established. But anyway, I said that they wouldn't feel so bad about it. And so they took and they said, thanks for that. That felt like a real proper meal, and I'm, feel full now, and I'm in a better state of mind because of it. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool, guys. And then I went to my room, and all I could think about is, man, I really want to eat something. There's just nothing here to eat, and I'm really hungry. So yeah, the next day was my payday, though, and so I, the welfare service that we have here in Australia, because as I stated, didn't have a job. So I was able to get myself something the next day, but I had to go all through that day without eating. And yeah, it's unpleasant. Talk about karma though, 2 weeks later when they started getting better financially, they made me this big meal, so that was cool. But I wasn't doing it to get anything out of it, I did it because I wanted to help him, and that's me being the bigger person. Didn't want to give up my meal, but I did it anyway because, well, it's about being nice. Anyway, another scenario. This involves a girl. Yeah, we all knew this was coming. I'm not going to use a real name, so I'll use the name Sarah, I guess. It's a name that I think kind of like suits the image of all girls. So with Sarah, what happened was that she was in a very emotionally abusive relationship with some absolute cockhead. And, yeah, I end up really, liking her, as kind of like what happens. I was that guy that she always went to when shit wasn't going well with her and her piece of shit boyfriend. And so, yeah, I remember there was a time when this went on for like months. And so I had feelings for her, but at the time I'm also not that kind of guy that sleeps with other girls when they're in relationships with other people. And I'm also not the kind of guy that tries to manipulate them to break up with the guy just so that I can move in on that territory. I think it's wrong and shitty, and so I don't do it. Temptation's there, but I still, decide to be the bigger person and not do that. And so in this case, what happened was Sarah, her boyfriend, dumped her, and she's pretty upset about that. And so, this was on a Friday, so the next day being Saturday, she wants to know if she can just come to my place and hang out because apparently I'm good company and I could help make her feel better. And I said, yeah, absolutely, that's fine. And I did have that thought of like, okay, she's single, but at the same time I didn't want to try and advance on her and make moves like that while she was still pretty upset and vulnerable because she was with this guy for, I think, 5 years. She was 20 at the time and so was I. So that's a pretty big effort to be with someone from the age of 15 to 20, only for him to, constantly mentally abuse you a lot and then break up with you. So, yeah, I met her at this little park that was about 3 or so minutes walk from where I was living at the time. And, yeah, she was borderline gothic as well, so she had, like, mascara on. That was down here by the time I saw her in the park. And it's, one thing to see your friends and stuff like that upset when it's the girl you like that's upset. I kind of take that personal. I don't know, maybe it's a guy thing, but I took it personally. And so I said, I'm really sorry about the stuff that happened. Let's, just go back to my place and hang or whatever. And so I went back there. I ended up cooking her bacon and eggs. That seems to be a returning theme with this, doesn't it? Generally just realized. But anyway, she's really big on bacon and the runny eggs and all that. So I cooked that up and, she ate it, really enjoyed it. And then anyway, next thing we go back in my room and sit down and chat. We're sitting on my bed. Technically it was a mattress. I preferred sleeping on the floor. So we're on the floor sitting on the edge of the mattress. And yeah, she's talking about, relationship and all that, and all like of now, and how things went wrong, and then yeah, she ends up crying, but she ends up burying her head on was it my whatever this part is, like the shoulder, upper chest area thing, and so yeah, so she starts doing that, and I'm like, it's there, it's okay, and so I like kind of like did the like comforting hug kind of thing. And yeah, for about 2 minutes she was crying so much that by the time she lifted her head up, all through here was completely saturated in her tears. And yeah, all I could really do was, I guess, just be that friend that was, there for her and all that. And yeah, try not to take advantage of her while she was in that vulnerable state. And so that's what I did. When she was back on her feet and over that, then I was going to say, you know what, I really like you, do you want to go on a date? But never really got that far, because 5 days later he decided to take her back, because I think at this point he realized he was a piece of shit and he was never going to get any other girl, especially one that was as pretty as her. And so she told me that on MSN. Remember the days of MSN? I was like, yay, that's awesome, I'm so happy for you. But anyway, the point of that was that there were so many opportunities that I had to try and take advantage of her vulnerableness, and I chose not to. And that was me being the bigger person, because let me just say, I really liked that girl. But, yeah, I guess it just wasn't meant to be, huh? Anyway. Alright, the next one. And, I really thought this shit just was like a stereotype that only happened in ads. So, anyway, I'm in the city of Brisbane, and there is, this chick about roughly my age at the time, and I was, 21, I think, at the time. And this chick that looked about roughly my age came over to me, and she said, oh, by the way, she was a crackhead, and you could easily tell. And then she said, hey, for $50, I'll let you do whatever you want with me. I'm like, okay, well, I know where this is going. And I had flashbacks from this ad that I saw, because it was one of those ads where it's like, sex for $50 or something like that isn't common, but on meth it is. Anyway, fuck drugs, by the way. And so I said, okay, interesting. And so I said in with her, I'm like, okay, but, not here, so let me call a cab. And so she's like, yeah, okay, because, it's very difficult for any junkie to say no to something. That's how they wound up as junkies in the first place, I guess. And so anyway, I called a cab, and anyway, as I'm doing this, the cab arrives, and I typed in through a text the address as to where I wanted him to take us. So anyway, I got in the back, I'm like, hey there, good man, can you take us to this place here? And he's like, yep, okay, no worries. This is where the twist comes in. This girl, I forgot her name, let's just make up the name, let's say Caitlin, for whatever reason. She probably thought I was going to take her to my address or some hotel or whatever so that we can get it on there. It's not what happened. What happened was I actually drove her to a rehab center. And we hopped out of the car, and she's like, what is this? I said, well, for $50 you said I could do whatever I want with you, and what I wanted to do was try and help you. And I said, honestly, I think it would be beneficial for you to go in here and get help, because you're really not a, clean, healthy individual, and I don't know what your background is or what led you into a life of drugs, but I do know that there's probably someone out there that cares about you, that wants to see you, in a better state, and asking guys, for money for sexual favors and stuff like that probably isn't going to be doing you any favors in the future. So anyway, I end up sitting down with her on this little waiting bench outside the place, and I had a talk with her for about, I'd say, a good 35 minutes, and to try and convince her to go into this place. And she said, okay, I'll go in there and check it out. So I said, okay. And so she went in there, I walked off, and I don't know what happened after that. She may have walked out and said, fuck this. It's hard to say. And if you're wondering, did I still give her the $50? Yes, I did. She may have converted that into crack, I don't know, but I wanted to hold up my end of the deal. And I'd like to think that because someone like me took the time out of the day to talk to her and let her know that there's other people out there that, care about and trying to help, even if they are a complete stranger, maybe that might have helped her and changed her mind, I don't know. But all I know is that that's a situation where I was definitely one of the bigger people, because I could have just said, oh, fuck off, you crackhead cunt, but I didn't. Anyway, don't condone drugs either, by the way, just putting that out there. Right, another event. Yeah, this one goes back to another girl. This is about 2 years after that thing happened with Sarah. And just to backtrack with Sarah, by the way, what happened was that she didn't tell her boyfriend that her and I were friends, and so he found out that her and I were friends, and didn't want me hanging out with her because I have a penis. And I told him that nothing's going to happen between us, and said, your girlfriend's made that abundantly clear. And then basically he put her in a situation where she had to choose between him or me. Yeah, guess who she chose? So anyway, now moving on to this other girl who I will refer to as Michelle. Again, not a real name, but so with Michelle. Yeah, bisexual, and so I liked her. She had a girlfriend at the time. And there was a bit of tribulation going on in that relationship. So while Michelle was hanging with me at my place at the time, I had one of those, those really small laptops that you can get. I think they're called like notebook laptops. I had one of those, and I was letting her use Facebook on it as she was chatting to her girlfriend, Chloe. And yeah, Chloe's a real name, fuck her. And as she was talking to her, Chloe got jealous about the fact that she was at my place, even though she wasn't interested in me at all. And so, yeah, so I said to Michelle, right, so basically your girlfriend Chloe is on the verge of breaking up with you. She goes, yeah. I'm like, So on one hand, yeah, I know. She broke up with her, she's single, and therefore she's, up for the grabs, so to speak. That's probably a bad way of putting it, but anyway, you know what I mean. She was like potentially available. Still, I wanted to see her happy, and true love, right? And so I said to her, hand me the laptop. She goes, why? I said, do you trust me? She goes, So she hands me the laptop, and I start typing a message to Chloe. She goes, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm not going to send it. I'm going to type up a response, which she's going to think is from you, and then you can read through it and edit it if you want to, and then hit send if you think it's the right thing to send off. And so basically I was arguing on behalf of Michelle. And so as I was typing in, the responses and stuff like that, I hand it to Michelle, she reads over it. Never once did she actually edit it. She goes, yeah, okay, this is good, better than I could word it. She hits enter, it sends, get the response back. I think I had to send about 3 or 4 responses to this girl. And not only did I save the relationship, I actually got an apology out of Chloe, which she apologized to Michelle. And so my other housemate that was living there as well, who knew how I felt towards Michelle, was like, is there anything that you won't do for this girl? I'm like, apparently not. Anyway, things didn't work out between me and that girl either, by the way, but anyway, alas, I went out of my way to save a relationship, which I didn't have to, and, yeah, I know. Kind of went against my, instinct of what I wanted, but at the same time I didn't want to feel like a piece of shit, so here we are. Alright, and the last one that I wanted to speak about. So about late 2007 I met this guy named Liam, and that is his real name. He can fuck off. And around about 2008 is when he and I started becoming, pretty close friends. And then, we were living in this town where there was other people and whatnot that kind of knew us either from school or from, someone else's girlfriend or whatever, and then, we end up getting this group of, a circle of friends, which is really cool. And, Liam and I were essentially, really close best friends. We'd do a lot of stuff together. We'd, write stories together and whatnot. We'd, play games and whatnot, hang out, crash his place a lot of times. He'd crash at my place. I don't know what it is with him, though, but somehow through the years, he ended up becoming a different person. Technically speaking, people say we always are a different person. For the most part, I'm still the same kind of guy that I was 10 years ago. I'm just more of that same person. So essentially, I'm a sequel, whereas some people become a completely different movie. That's what happened in his case. He became pretty egotistical and, kind of became a douchebag, and I, kind of wanted to follow the same path of, I guess, I don't know, being good, as best as I can be, I guess, to my abilities. Which wasn't the case with this guy because he ended up being a dick. And so the only thing that was holding on to our friendship as to why we were still in contact was, I was friends with his dad as well. His dad I thought was a really cool guy. And on top of that, I met this other girl as well. I won't use her real name, so I'll use the name Stacy, I guess? So Stacy, I met her and I introduced her to Liam, and then they became boyfriend and girlfriend, and then I think eventually fiancé. And so, with that being said, that was me also being friends with Stacy as to why I still kind of had to keep him around in the friendship area, even though there wasn't really anything going on keeping a friendship together. He became his own person, I was still my own person, and we didn't really have anything in common or anything to talk about. And so, so what happened was about a year ago, a little over a year ago, I guess, his dad passed away in his sleep for reasons kind of unknown. And I was like, oh, that's kind of shitty. And I was speaking to him like 2 days about, we had a good conversation about martial arts and all that, and then I'm like, oh, fuck, shit. And I wanted to join the funeral, and so on his dad's Facebook page, someone else like was signing in using it, saying information about the funeral, if you want to contact this person, which I guess was a family friend. And so I'm like, okay, I'll follow the instructions. I did that. So I contacted the person. That person then said that they when contacted Liam and then Liam's mum, and that they basically Liam requested that I do not attend the funeral. I don't know how much of a low-grade piece of fucking shit you need to be to tell someone that they cannot go to someone else's funeral that they cared about. End up didn't going to the funeral, by the way, and my reasons for that, even though not a lot of people would say, oh fuck it, you should have just gone anyway. Well, one, I kind of have these codes and principles I follow. One is that I don't attack grieving individuals, enemy or friend. And yeah, they were still grieving. Doesn't excuse them from telling me, oh, I can't go to the funeral. But if anything, I thought his dad's death would have brought us closer, but if anything, it just pushed us way the fuck away. And here's why I was the bigger person. I wanted to go to his place and rip him to fucking pieces. I didn't. And yeah, I don't know what's happened with him since. I blocked him on Facebook. I don't want anything to do with him. I don't chat with him. Yeah, unfortunately, I had to not speak with his girlfriend either. So, basically, either there's one or two things that would have happened. Either he didn't tell her, and she doesn't know, and so it's, I guess, a bit easier on her to make me be the one that cancels the relationship so she thinks I'm the asshole, and that she can live in her little fantasy world where she's got such an amazing boyfriend, or I end up having to go out of my way to tell her what happened. Then she either has to, be forced to break up with the guy, or she's more than likely what would happen was that she would have stayed with him and try and find some middle ground, even though at this point there's really none to be found. And so the reason why I thought I was the bigger person is because I respect their wishes and I did not attend the funeral. Even though I really wanted to, I didn't attend the funeral. I didn't send any threatening messages to the guy. I didn't show up at his house with a baseball bat, nothing like that. I just went, okay, well, I guess I've really seen his true colors now and know what he's like, so I don't know what his issues were with me. I guess maybe he just didn't like the fact that I was still trying to do the right thing while he was justifying doing dumb shit, and trying to make out like that he was justified in doing so. But anyway, that's a very small version of like the tribulation between our friendship that happened along the years. So it wasn't an overnight thing. He gradually became more and more of a dick, and so yeah, now that's basically where I'm at. His dad's dead. It's unfortunate. I liked his dad more than Liam. But yeah. It almost feels like I lost two people that day. His dad and then Liam. And yeah, last week actually when I was in the city, I saw Liam at a train station. And again, I could have gone over and said something, but I didn't. So probably would have been a very short conversation. But yeah, I was pissed off about that for about 2 whole months. I was just constantly, thinking, basically negative thoughts towards Liam. And yeah, again, I chose to not go out of my way to do anything stupid or bad. I suppose it wouldn't have accomplished anything anyway. Wouldn't have brought his dad back, and probably wouldn't have made me feel better anyway. So yeah, that's where it was at. Didn't attend the funeral, didn't send any threatening messages like that. I just broke communication. And I don't know, it's one thing for me to talk about it. If you actually knew how frustrated I felt, you would know why it is a big deal that I didn't go out of my way to do anything that would involve causing harm to him. Anyway, so I think that about wraps up this video. I understand it was a little bit long, but I wanted to elaborate on the stories to really try and put things in perspective and in context. So yeah, closing thoughts is that I would encourage other people to do stuff like this as well. But the more you try and do things like this, the more it'll become an instinctive habit, and the more you'll try and do things that, for the purpose of, for, that relate to, I should say, the well-being of other people, as opposed to just, resorting to violence as a first instinct. Because there's too much violence in the world, and really there needs to be less of it. I know that violence is never going to get eradicated from the world, So the best thing that we can do is skill ourselves in violence in order to counter other people that decide to use violence against us. But again, it should only be used as a last resort. And yeah, when it comes to the first resort of being the bigger person, well, I tend to want to become the change that I want to see in the world. And so, even though no one else is doing it, that's why I still choose to do it. So, anyway, before I start running off on more tangents, thank you for watching, and remember, be nice to people and stay safe.